Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first Quantum Sparks class. This is going to be a super short 20-minute class. Each week, we're going to have a different subject that we cover. And this week, we are covering indistractability. In other words, how do we make sure that we are not distracted? Let me just pull this up. Okay, so indistractability, because everything we do, we have a goal in life, and life is a goal. And how do we make sure we accomplish in order to become the best version of ourselves? I always like to start our programs with the reminder that knowledge is only potential. It is not power. The true power is in execution. So since you're spending 20 minutes with us today, make sure to have a pen and paper out because we have lots of content that we're going to cover. And we want to make sure after the program that you go execute. So let's talk about distraction. Anything that pulls your attention and energy away from what you have intentionally chosen to focus on. Let's talk about will and purpose. Will is your ability to make choices or decisions. So we are born with free will, the ability to make choices and decisions. It is our ability to act. Purpose is the reason or objective behind an action. It is the intended goal. So our free will allows us to execute on our purpose. Hold on, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm going to just reshare my screen. Okay. If you guys can't see my screen, just put a note in the chat, but I think it's working now. Okay. So your will manifests your life through choices as to where your time and energy are spent. And ideally, your will ends up manifesting whatever your purpose is in life. And sometimes we call this goal setting, that we have these goals. I think goal setting downplays what you're here for. And because sometimes we just look at it as I have this goal, but in reality, goals are life. Time is life. Energy is life. So if you have a purpose, everybody has a purpose, your will is the choices and decisions that will allow you to execute on that purpose. And distractions are the interference in your will, which is interference in your purpose, which is interference in your life. So if you think about it, what is the actual cost of a distraction? The cost is lost time, energy burnout, productivity, relationships, emotional and mental cost of distraction, your physical health, your legacy, because your unfulfilled dreams. All of this is the cost of distraction in your life. So the real cost of distraction is life. Bit by bit, moment by moment, distraction steals time that you cannot get back. Awareness becomes your superpower when it comes to distraction. So what is the result you wish to achieve this week, this day, this hour that will lead you toward accomplishing your ultimate purpose? And it is your job to run every distraction through a personal purpose filter. Distraction comes in many forms, and it's extremely sneaky because it looks like something normal, and sometimes it even looks like something urgent. It's extremely sneaky. Sometimes the distraction is other people, somebody that comes over and says, hey, do you have a second that I can ask you a question? That turns into 30 minutes or an hour or more. Unplanned conversations or pop-ins, energy vampires, overcommitment to other people, or family or friends that are interrupting focused work time. distractions. Sometimes those distractions are meetings that could have been resolved in an email or a conversation. My team will tell you I'm anti-meetings. Oftentimes people will email me and say, can I have a meeting for this? I say, first, why don't you articulate it in an email? Because oftentimes we can resolve in 5 minutes something that a meeting would have taken 2 hours. So meetings can be a distraction, especially if they're unnecessary or poorly organized, or meetings that run over time, meetings without clear agendas or outcomes, or being invited to meetings where your input just isn't needed. Technology is, of course, another distraction. Scrolling social media, checking email constantly, text messages constantly, app alerts, pings, buzzes, YouTube, just one more video. I'm just going to scroll one more video. Group chats, technology, all of it is distraction. There's also mental distraction. There's so much mental distraction in the world. First of all, brain fog, just caused by poor sleep, poor diet, stress overload. If you're suffering from brain fog, I cannot stress enough, start paying attention. Keep a journal of what you're eating. Many years ago, this is going back 15 or 13 years ago, my daughter began having seizures as a 2 or 3-year-old. And I started looking closely, and this was not because the doctors urged it. Basically, I started looking closely at the foods we were eating. And I believe one of the things that caused her eating disorder, her seizure disorder, was aspartame in our foods, poison in our foods. And everything I had at that time had aspartame in it. Diet popsicles, diet pudding, diet yogurt. Aspartame is lethal. And so I eliminated it. I said, if we're going to have sugar, we'll have real sugar. If we want something sugary, we'll have real sugar. We're never, ever, ever again having anything that is diet. But now, because I eat so clean, I can tell in 1 second if I accidentally eat something that has a fake sugar in it, because it causes brain fog. It is a mental distraction. Worrying about things that are outside of your control are a distraction, or ruminating on past mistakes, or anxiety about the future, or jumping between tasks. So when you understand the laws of energy, attraction, the universe, God, there is nothing left to worry about. So that's part of this whole series, the Quantum Spark series, is that we're going to study all of these things in really quick tidbits so that you can jumpstart every Monday on the right foot. But what you will begin to realize is that when you practice these, you understand that your success has nothing to do with what is happening in the real estate market. It has nothing to do with what is happening at all in the outside world. Your success at achieving whatever your goal or life mission or purpose is has 100% to do with your decision to do it undistractedly. And your job in your life is to eliminate the interference. So all this interference that comes in that makes it difficult for you to accomplish the purpose, your goal is to eliminate all of it. And that begins with eliminating distraction. Environment is also a distraction. If you have messy, cluttered workspaces, background noise, working in space with constant interruptions, poor lighting, or uncomfortable environments that make it hard to get focus. So one of the ways to get rid of distraction is to create clarity all around you. When you create clarity all around you, it translates into clarity within your own mind, your own thoughts. Also, when it comes to environment, I can't stress enough that everything is energy. So the colors on the walls around you, the space around you, the noises that you're listening, whether it's TV chatter or classical music, all of it is energy and contributes to your success. Emotions can also be distractions. So anytime you don't feel good, you're moving into a low vibration. In order to be successful on your mission to accomplish your purpose, you have to feel good. So it is important that when you notice a distraction that is affecting your emotion, bringing you into a bad mood, that's the same as saying it's bringing you into a low or bad vibration. Feeling good is necessary for high vibration, and high vibration is where you attract all the good things in life. Oftentimes, a lot of the distraction is self-inflicted, like checking the news obsessively or looking at real estate listings or shopping sites or over planning or starting a million projects but never really finishing one or jumping to the next idea without completing the old one. So distraction is anything that pulls your focus from what you choose to do and replaces it with something that you did not choose to do. So you have to think about when you move to a distraction, move onto something that here you are on a path towards your purpose, and then you get pulled off of your path of purpose, you have to ask, is it whose will am I executing on? Whose decisions or whose purpose am I fulfilling? Oftentimes, once you move off of your path of purpose because of a distraction or interference, you're moving on to someone else's path of purpose. Why does it all matter? Well, when you move off of your path of purpose, that the reason it matters is because your life is a byproduct of the thoughts you are having. So where you sit right now in your business and in your life is 100% a byproduct of all the thoughts you've had up until this moment. If you want to change the trajectory of your business and your life, it requires that you have different thoughts. You have to think differently than you did yesterday, than you did last year, than you did 3 years ago, because all of those thoughts are what brought you right here. So anytime you are distracted, you are moving your thoughts away from your purpose. So the goal is that you wake up intentionally working towards purpose each day, towards whatever the goal is, because the goal is your life, and that your thoughts stay on the right path. So anytime you notice that, we said awareness is your superpower, anytime you notice that you're moving away from your path, your purpose, that you're getting distracted onto another path, you have to ask yourself, is this moving me towards my dream or goal or life I want? And if it is not your purpose, which often distractions are not leading you towards your purpose, you have to either eliminate them, transform them, or accept them. You can eliminate, first of all, so you notice the distraction and you eliminate it. If the person or task or habit consistently pulls you off purpose and it is not necessary for your survival, well-being, integrity, just remove it. Maybe it's just unnecessary social media scrolling. Delete it. Maybe it's just a bad relationship you're in that constantly pulls you off the path of your purpose. Get rid of it. Secondly, maybe you don't want to get rid of it, but you could transform it. If elimination is not possible, then try to change your approach to it, such as creating clear boundaries. So if it's social media, for example, create a very brief boundary within which you can be at that distraction, 5 minutes on social media a day. It's really important that if you're going to allow for the distraction to stay in your life, that you set sacred hours, sacred focus hours, where that time cannot be spent on the distraction. And the third is you can actually accept it. That means consciously and strategically accept the distraction, because in reality, some distractions are simply unavoidable. Many of us are parents or have health issues, or we just have unavoidable things that we have to do in our lives. So in these cases, just accept them on purpose. Say, I choose to accept this distraction and build it into my daily life. So you want to have awareness around distractions, make a decision around each distraction, and take action around distraction. So be aware that something is pulling you off course, decide whether you're going to eliminate, transform, or accept it, and then act quickly and deliberately so that you are staying aligned with your purpose. Whenever you're unsure what to do with a person or a commitment or a task that you are facing that seems like it could be a distraction, you have to ask yourself, does this bring me closer to or further from the life that I say I want? If it's further, you have to act accordingly without guilt, because your future depends on it. Your job, your mission in life is to fulfill a purpose. That means every decision you make must be a filter for deciding whether this action, the next step I'm about to take, whether that is fulfilling your purpose. Turn potential distraction into fuel. So many things could be distractions if you allow it to, but you don't necessarily have to allow it. So for example, I see people that go to like a million networking events. And by the way, I was that person for a very long time. I felt like I had to go to every single networking event I was invited to. And that turns out that nothing came of that for me. There are ways that you can turn distractions, such as being invited to networking events all the time, into fuel. But you have to clarify, set intention, actively curate, extract, and integrate. So quickly, first, if you're going to choose to follow a distraction, perhaps it is going to networking events. You have to know your core purpose. What is the purpose you're trying to fulfill? Maybe your purpose is to grow into becoming a top real estate professional in a marketplace while maintaining personal and family balance. Then you have to frame opportunities against that purpose. So how could I take this distraction, which is maybe a networking event, and turn it into something that serves my purpose? Number two, you have to set the intention. When you are attending the networking event, you have to remember, what exactly am I here to learn, build, or contribute that aligns with my purpose? The event itself is never the purpose. So you have to decide how to turn that event into something that serves your purpose. That means setting intention anytime you're going to feed into that distraction. You then have to curate your own experience. So that means when you attend the event, you cannot be passive. You can't just say, I'm going to go to every networking event, because those are distractions. They're not going to serve your purpose. You have to be the sculptor that says, I'm attending this event. This event is meant to be sculpted into something that helps me create the purpose that I am here for. So you have to shape it. And while you're at the event, you have to pivot conversations or double down on the mission. Understand, like, hey, while I'm here, there's things I have to do. I have to collect names for my database. I have to see if anybody knows anybody who's looking to buy or sell real estate. And then after the event, you have to extract and integrate. So reflect on, what did I gain after each, if the distraction is an event like a networking event, what did I gain that moves me towards my purpose? And then integrate that in moving towards your purpose. Knowledge not integrated becomes just another distraction. I started today's program saying knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential. Execution is power. So knowledge not integrated becomes another distraction. By the way, classes are distraction. I see thousands of real estate agents take class after class after class and never do anything with it. In that case, the class is nothing more than a mere distraction. Living in alignment requires courage because sometimes the path to your purpose does involve disappointing others in order to not betray yourself. And awareness, again, is your superpower. But one last important note before we end today's Quantum Sparks class. There's one really important note when noticing distraction in your life. And that is, are you unconsciously inviting the distraction? It's easy to say there's all these distractions and people pulling me in all different directions. Well, you're the one that's allowing for it. And the question is, why are you allowing it? Because oftentimes you are the one unconsciously inviting distraction into your life. Maybe it's because you're trying to avoid something uncomfortable. Oftentimes we distract ourselves to avoid hard emotions, fear, boredom, insecurity, or uncertainty. For some, it's a temporary escape. Like, hey, if I can be distracted for an hour on social media, I don't have to deal with this uncomfortable thing that I have to deal with in real life. I can escape. So it's like a quick dopamine hit on social media for emotional relief. Or fear of success. Many people deep down, the reason people fear success is because success is change. Subconsciously, people distract themselves because distraction feels like safety, because distraction is staying stuck, and staying stuck is safe. So it really takes looking at your unconscious, what's unconsciously driving you, and why are you allowing for the distractions? In these instances, what you have to understand is that oftentimes the reason why distraction is so prevalent, it is because it serves you. It's not serving your purpose. It is serving these other things like, hey, I'm scared to succeed because that means I have to change. And we don't say that out loud, but in your head, you're unconsciously allowing for distraction because of that reason. So the distraction serves us in other ways. It gives us a temporary vacation or an escape from what we're nervous about. But it's taking you away from your growth and your mission to achieve your purpose in life. Awareness leads to conscious decision making. So not all distraction is bad. So when intentional, it can be super purposeful. It allows, so all this is saying is that when you notice that you're allowing for distraction, there's a reason for it. Maybe you're scared of success deep down because that means change. Or maybe you're just trying to escape from something uncomfortable you're dealing with in your own life. But if you can at least be aware that that is what you are doing, you can turn the distraction into something good, because some distraction is actually good for us. So, in other words, don't be kidnapped by distraction. In other words, not noticing and heading off onto social media for 3 hours to scroll, but choose your distractions with awareness and structure. Don't be kidnapped by it. Distraction can be purposeful. You just have to understand who is setting the purpose. Are you consciously setting the purpose, or are your fears unconsciously setting the purpose, or is something or someone else altogether grabbing your purpose? So when you notice that you are being distracted, name it. Hey, why am I doing this? Why am I scrolling on social media for an hour? Why am I saying yes to every training class? Why am I saying yes to every networking event? Name it. Why am I doing this? Feel it. Is there something that I'm trying not to feel? Honor it. Maybe it is something that you're trying not to feel, like, hey, success makes me super uncomfortable. Just honor it. Say, I get it. I don't like change, and this is making me really uncomfortable. And then redirect it. That means you control it. So that means instead of scrolling on social media, you say, you know what? Success makes me super uncomfortable. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read for an hour every day on success principles to learn how to be better accepting success, or I'm going to go for a walk every day. Instead of just being kidnapped by distraction, you're being intentional in saying, I choose how I will be distracted in my life. And then reflect on the things that you did allow for distraction. If your distraction is reading for an hour or going for a walk, think about how that helped you. Distractions are not necessarily enemies. They're often signals. And when you listen to them consciously, they become your guides to a stronger, more intentional life. I'm going to leave you with this daily affirmation for you to think about and reflect on until our next Quantum Sparks event. And that is, I protect my energy, I honor my focus, and I live on purpose. Say that to yourself every day. I protect my energy, I honor my focus, and I live on purpose. And I will put the recording of today's program at lairrealty.com/quantum sparks after today's program. As well, if you have a question that you would like answered in a future Quantum Sparks, which will be every Monday at 10:30, just send us anything that is a challenge in your business and life, and we will turn it into a Quantum Sparks program. lairrealty.com/ask anything. And that is it for today's program. Thanks for joining us.